Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Firstly, I'd like to thank everyone for being here to listening to my speech journey. My name is Janeel. I am from South Africa, from, from a city called Johannesburg. For those of you who don't know where South Africa is, it's actually at the tip of Africa. And no, we do not have lions roaming around our streets or in my back garden. But we did have a recent incident where we had a hippopotamus roaming around one of our cities. I'm currently 30 years old and I'm married for 2 years now with my wife, and I am in the profession of software engineering. Let me start right from the beginning of my early days with my speech journey. My first recollection of a disfluency memory was when I was around 8 or 9 years old. I actually don't remember the exact year or age I was. I don't have any specific incidences or memories which caused my stuttering. As I said, I don't really remember. But I would consider myself or my early speech as a mild stutterer. So just struggled on a few first feared words, and it was on and off. When I was in my young age, I had the opportunity to go to a speech therapist near my area. And believe it or not, unlike many of you, the speech therapist actually helped me cure my stuttering. Up until today, or until I read Lee's book, I had no idea what the speech therapist did to me, what methods she applied, or what techniques I learned, but I managed to cure stuttering. But looking back after reading Lee's book, I have a few ideas what actually worked. So my first theory is that as I was quite a young age, I didn't have a lot of disfluency memories. So it was much easier for me to get past it. Secondly, she always encouraged me to read aloud. And I think I read aloud a lot. Every time I went to a session, I would be reading to her. And I think that also helped a lot. And thirdly, she told me, and I remember now, is that I should speak slowly. And at that time, I did speak slowly. And fourthly, I think because I was quite a young age, I wasn't very conscious of my speaking, I wasn't conscious of my stuttering, I was able to get past it. And those, looking back, is what I think actually helped me overcome my stuttering. So that lasted for about 3 years. And as I moved into my young teens, slowly but surely, the disfluency started to come back again. Incidents which I remember were speaking on the phone. Oh, man, the speaking on the phone was like my kryptonite. And I just couldn't get past it. And every time the phone rang, um, I immediately thought about it. In particular, I really struggled with speaking with my name. So someone asked, "Who's speaking?" Oof, yeah, that was really tough for me. Then I had an idea in my teens. Why not go back to the speech therapist who once helped me and see if that worked again? So I went back to the exact same speech therapist, um, but she actually didn't help me. She had another colleague of hers who was helping, and it wasn't successful this time. I couldn't relate to this new speech therapist as she was a fluent speaker, she was a non-stutterer. She shared a few techniques with me, such as breathing, like thinking about words or thinking about rhythm, but I never actually like got into it, or I never understood it from her. So I left there and thinking, "Ah, there must be another way," or I just continued on. Continuing on my teen years, slowly by slowly, there was a few more incidents which happened, and sooner or later, towards the end of my teens, it became like a snowball effect, and it got worse and worse. And one of the biggest things which I struggled with was speaking my name or introducing myself. For a long time, I thought that if I could just overcome that hurdle, I would actually be cured of stuttering. But the trouble or the challenge was to actually overcome that. I remember in my teens, then I wished there was a magic pill I could drink and it would cure me. Or I wish there was someone who could just like fix the situation and just let it be over with. And I also wish that one day I would just like naturally grow out of it and it wouldn't be there. But that never happened, as we all know. Stuttering did take an effect of my teens. I was a lot more quiet than I should have been, than I would have wanted to be. I felt that at certain times that I couldn't say things which I really wanted to, but just felt that I couldn't. And that was my teens life. Moving over, fast forward a fast few years, I entered the workplace in my early 20s. Again, I had a few more incidents with with introducing myself and introducing names. I dreaded year on year where beginning of the year we would need to introduce ourselves to all the new people joining the company. I remember a distinct scenario where I would go to a training session on a Friday, and the whole week leading up to that time, I would be thinking about it day after day. And there's nothing you can do about it, but I just remember that I was thinking about it. Then I knew there was something I needed to do. So I went to Google and I Googled, I tried to find a course. And I came across a Malaysian lady who had an online course about stuttering. So I purchased the course and I went through it several times, but it did not help. I found that her course was non-natural and the techniques were actually forced upon. So I tried that, it didn't work. Fast forward a few years later, I continued to have bad incidents. And a common pattern of my journey was every time I had a really bad incident, I was determined to go back to Google and try to find another solution, or try something. In 2018, I heard of Toastmasters. So I joined Toastmasters in a hope that it would just be a platform where I could practice to speak, but I had no idea whether it would help me or not, or it could have gotten worse. Up until today, I'm still part of Toastmasters. Um, and yeah, I believe that to a degree, it has helped my speaking and my fluency and my ability to speak. In June 2020, I I had another bad incident in particular with my name. And I went back to Google and I searched for another solution. At the time, I was big into audiobooks, so I was part of Amazon Audible. And I Googled or I searched in there for stuttering books. And I remember there were two search results, two of the top search results which came up. The first was a book which was not Lee's book. That was the first result. And the second book was actually Lee's result. I was tempted to go in and buy the first book, but luckily I read the reviews of both of the books. And after reading the reviews, I decided to buy Lee's audiobook. And that is when everything changed for me. As soon as I was listening to Lee's audiobook, I felt an immediate connection to him. I felt that he was an ex-stutterer and the stories he was telling, I could immediately relate to. In particular, there was one section which was such an aha moment for me when Lee talked about that it's actually quite a common problem for stutterers to struggle on their names. Like I mentioned, this is probably my biggest thing to overcome. And when he mentioned that, I felt like a sense of relief. Before that, I was actually beginning to think that it was just me and only I had this problem and I didn't know how to overcome it. So that section didn't solve my problem, but I felt a lot better that it was a common problem amongst stutterers. From then, I had many coaching sessions with Lee and Leah, and they have been absolutely brilliant to me. They've told me the hard truth and what I needed to hear, and that's exactly what we expect from coaches. In September 2020, I submitted my PWSS success story, but my journey to PWSS and the current journey that I'm on wasn't the easiest. So in particular, I struggled to remember or to apply the crutches from day to day. And to be honest, I'm still working on it to remember and keep it in my mind to master them. Another part where I struggle during day-to-days is the fast pace of work. I have the tendency just to also speak faster, whereas I have to consciously remind myself to take it slower and speak slowly. So I believe I'm still on this journey. Overall, the benefits of being part of the SAC in this journey, I feel that I'm a lot more friendlier person than I ever was. I'm now like the first person to greet, or I make it a point to be the first person to say, "How are you?" I like to think I smile a lot more, and I know I'm more free to speak my mind now, a lot easier than I ever was. I actually also recommend um, auto suggestions to my wife just to try and improve her life, and I'm trying to get her on that journey as well. Another benefit which I have found by learning the crutches and being part of SAC is that now that I listen to like a TED talk or I listen to someone great speaking, I can actually see or listen to some of the crutches that they're using, how they pronounce the words or how they smile, especially from crutches 7 to 13, which is quite liberating and quite good to know, quite nice to learn these crutches and to be able to recognize them. My next steps or my goals is to be a more enthusiastic speaker. Like I love Lee's enthusiasm and every time I speak with him, and that's my next part to embrace and to become more passionate about my speech. I'd like to thank Lee, Leah, SAC. I'm forever grateful for the day I searched for an audible for Lee's book, and I came across your book. And I'll never forget what these two coaches have done for me in my entire life. And I like to end my speech to say with a saying which I believe that every time I had an incident and every time I was new to do something, I came across this quote, which is, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. And that was the reason why I kept going back. And it took me a while to find the solution which actually worked. But at the end of the day, I did find it. I'm forever grateful. Thank you very much.